The Nintendo Switch has existed for 6 years now, and in that time a lot of great pixel RPGs have been released on it. This list has action, turn-based, and strategy RPGs, but they all share the common factor of having pixel graphics, and are all great games you should consider playing. Some spots have more than one game, and some titles are actually compilations of multiple games, so this list is a bit more than 20 games technically. So let's get to it. Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, containing 6 games that helps define the genre, makes this an easy recommendation. With touched up pixel graphics, these games look as beautiful as ever. They also come with a bunch of quality of life improvements such as increased movement speed, auto battles, the option to increase earned experience and gold after battle, and the ability to toggle on and off random encounters. Plus, the game's font has been improved from the PC release. If you have ever missed out on or wants to replay these classic games, this is the best way to do it. Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. The Octopath series is the first series to have been developed under Square Enix's HD 2D banner, and both games are great. Octopath 2 in particular fixes the shortcomings of its predecessor and improves upon what was already great. Both games feature a likable cast, gorgeous HD 2D pixel graphics, bumpin' soundtracks, and characters with interesting stories. If you are wondering where to start, I definitely recommend Octopath Traveler 2, as it can be fully enjoyed without playing the first game, and is better all around. Breath of Fire 1 and 2. Don't forget about Nintendo Switch Online. It has some RPG gems on it. Developed by Capcom, Breath of Fire 1 and 2 are a pair of old school turn-based RPGs at some of their finest. I personally have a lot of nostalgia for this series, but if you love classic JRPGs, you can find something to love here. Both games have a beautiful art style that still looks great today, and both have a lengthy main quest at about roughly 30 and 40 hours respectively. Plus, your main character gets to transform into various dragons. How cool is that? Earthbound Beginnings and Earthbound. We can't forget about these games simply because of the legendary legacy they left behind, particularly Earthbound. Why? Well, featuring a real-world setting with cartoonish graphics, Earthbound's unique locations and visuals for its time were special, and were perfectly matched with its sense of humor and bizarre yet entertaining narrative. It's an RPG of the turn-based variety and features a beloved soundtrack. It's one of those games where the courage to try a variety of new ideas resulted in a gaming icon. Its prequel is a good game too, and it set up its sequel for success, but Earthbound Beginnings is often overshadowed by its sequel since it doesn't quite execute its ideas as well as its sequel does. Collection of Mana, another fantastic collection of RPGs for the Nintendo Switch. It contains 2 of the best RPGs ever made for the Super Nintendo: Secret of Mana and Trials of Mana. Both games have some of the most beautiful sprite work ever created and have some of the best music ever. I still listen to the soundtrack all these years later. These games also provide the oh so rare experience of playing with a friend if you desire, which is perfect for these action RPGs that have beautifully crafted worlds to explore. Hyper Light Drifter. Another 2D action RPG for the list, Hyper Light Drifter was developed by the indie developer Heart Machine, and as soon as I saw it, I was in love. Its synth-punk visuals combined with its fast action combat made it an experience I won't ever forget. The world of Hyper Light Drifter was haunting and brutal. The game made me feel like I was a whirlwind of death. I can still see the pixelated blood of my enemies. I can't recommend it enough. Undertale and Deltarune. It was virtually impossible not to hear about Undertale when it first released. Developed by Toby Fox, Undertale was weird, surreal, yet also one of the best games ever. Its music brought the house down, it was full of zany characters who have now become some of the genre's most popular, and its story could go in different directions depending on how you play the game. Plus, the battles were pretty fun too. Deltarune, however, is still being released in parts, but what has been released has all the charm Undertale did, with still incredible music and upgraded pixel visuals. Chained Echoes. I played and finished this game over the span of about 5 days, and it blew my friggin' mind. Chained Echoes fixes many of the problems classic pixel RPGs have, and it made it one of the most player-friendly RPGs I've ever experienced. Its more adult and dark-themed narrative contrasts well with its striking pixel graphics and helps to set it apart. The combat system also shines, and the world building was top-notch. Plus, Chained Echoes lets you travel and fight your way across the world in giant medieval mechs. What more could a man ask for? Crosscode. An indie action RPG, Crosscode's setting takes place within an MMORPG. It is also the most puzzle-heavy game on this list, for those of you who like that type of problem solving. Crosscode features fast combat, dense pixel visuals, and a good story. Its difficulty can be quite challenging, but there are various options to help with both the game's combat and its puzzles, if you so desire a bit of help. Definitely worth checking out. Tactics Ogre Reborn. Tactics Ogre is quite possibly the greatest tactical role-playing game ever created. Politically focused narrative with branching story paths? Check. A deep and rewarding combat system? Check. Large maps? Dozens of different job classes, great story, and beautiful pixel graphics? Friggin' check. This version also boasts brand new voice acting, enemy AI, and re-orchestrated music. It is a great game for the Switch and a must-play for any tactical role-playing game fan. I implore you, please go play this game. Triangle Strategy is a pillar of the tactical role-playing game genre, and the game I had the most fun playing in 2022. Why, you ask? Well, for example, its battles were perfectly balanced, offering a steady challenge throughout the whole game. And while I enjoyed the combat the most, there was a lot more triangle strategy offered. It has beautiful maps, interesting characters, a great story, and a ton of replayability because of its branching story paths. If you enjoy the game as much as I did, you will immediately want to replay it. And that's great because it has one of the best new Game Plus experiences I've ever played. Live Alive. A Super Nintendo RPG that was left behind in Japan for decades has finally been released into the world in its new HD 2D form. And it was a pleasure to make its acquaintance. Featuring different chapters with main and supporting characters from separate epochs, Live Alive is a truly unique experience. Although the game's turn and grid-based battle system acts as a through line, each chapter has additional gameplay mechanics to further set apart its different stories. The disparate characters, story, and gameplay mechanics all coalesce into a great game. And that boss music, incredible. Eastward. An indie title developed by Pixville, Eastward features the dual protagonists John and Sam as they explore a richly detailed pixel world that is quickly approaching its ruin. Its dense world is worth exploring no matter where you find yourself in-game, and its gameplay provides a good challenge. And of course, the game sounds great too. Eastward takes a lot of inspiration from other games and media, but it doesn't feel like a cheap imitation. It's its own thing and worth experiencing. Dragon Quest XI. Yes, you can play the entirety of Dragon Quest XI in its 2D mode. It features the same colorful characters, epic and lengthy journey, and music as the 3D version of the game, but now in visuals that represent the origins of the franchise. Dragon Quest XI is my favorite Dragon Quest and is worth experiencing in any visual style you choose, so get to it. Phantasy Star. Released way back in 1987 for the Master System, Phantasy Star was Sega's answer to the rising popularity of console RPGs at the time. It was a watershed moment for RPGs. For its time, Phantasy Star's visuals, gameplay, and grand adventure were all highly praised. Compared to today's more modern RPGs, it may feel a bit more plain, but if you like old games or are capable of looking at it in the lens of when it was first released, it will be worth your precious time. It's available in the Sega Ages series. Fire Emblem, also known as Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade in Japan, was originally launched for the Game Boy Advance and is Fire Emblem in its old school permadeath glory. No casual option here, kids. Featuring some incredible sprite work for the Game Boy Advance and challenging but fair combat, this strategy RPG features many iconic and beloved characters from the Fire Emblem series. With dozens of characters to recruit and dozens of combat classes, it's a great fit for any strategy fan. Grandia HD Collection. If you are looking for a RPG that gives you the ultimate sense of adventure, look no further. No game has come close before or since Grandia to give me such profound sense of accomplishment once completed. And it's probably the most cathartic game ever, featuring one of the best battle systems in the RPG genre, memorable characters, grand story, unforgettable music, and hammy yet endearing dialogue. Grandia is the whole package. You gotta play it. And Grandia 2 is in this collection too. It's not a pixel RPG, but gosh darn it, it's amazing too. Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. I think it's appropriate we have at least one Mario game on the list. Originally released on the Game Boy Advance in 2003, this game is beloved for its humorous writing, art style, interactive combat, and its non-stop assault of references to the Mario series at large. If charm was ever personified in video game form, chances are it could be this game. It's a delightful RPG experience beginning to end, and a must for all Mario fans. Ending with this game just feels appropriate for a Nintendo Switch games list, so that's what I'm gonna do. Now, go play some games.